Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you're watching this video lecture. Earlier we discussed three broad areas of questions that can be expected from the chapter of overheads. One is primary and secondary distribution, and then computation of machine hour rate. Also, the treatment for under and over absorbed overheads. Actually, the next continuation for this is supposed to be ABC. Let us start with that. But actually, within the activity based costing, also, there is nothing like specially we need to know. It is all about how the details related to various costs are given in the question. In case of activity based costing, there are activities involved which are done and performed by the organization towards manufacturing of a product or rendering of any service to the customers. But the details about all of them will be given in the question, and some questions definitely require us to find out. One way we can say the cost per activity, and some questions in the ABC are mostly like product profitability analysis type. Frankly speaking, the question that we have already done in the chapter of overheads, distributing the selling and distribution expenses on some given basis, also can be called ABC. But there is no need of distinction like that. We will definitely do some more questions on activity based costing, especially in the next session, which is using the word activity based costing also, and perfect examples of them. But the similar concept can be used for product profitability analysis also. Means just computing what is the cost of the product, what is the sales from the product, how much profit each product is generating for an organization, so that we can understand which is a more profitable product and which is not. If at all some products are not very profitable, if they are giving a negative contribution, then better to even actually discontinue sale of such products. So you call it decision making, you call it ABC, you call it overheads, it doesn't matter, that is the point. These are all generic questions. Any type of question like that can be asked. So what are the data given to the question, in the question to us? Using it, we need to be able to answer, and such type of little different questions, mostly which we cannot classify also, let us do in this session. And in the next session particularly we will focus on those questions which are related to exclusively ABC versus absorption costing. Mostly that is a very popular question. Calculate the same thing under ABC also, calculate the same thing under absorption costing also, then see why the results are different. That is very typical of questions from that chapter, which we will do in the next session. But now in this current session, let us do some questions related to, you call it customer profitability analysis, product profitability analysis, name whatever we can give. Question is there, what is required in the question, all that we need to do is solve it. Let us see the application of this particular question, which is there in the ICA material. In the chapter of ABC only it is there, though as I said, we don't have to label it. Alpha Limited has decided to analyze the profitability of its 5 new customers. So we can call this as customer profitability analysis. It buys the bottled water at 90 rupees per case and sells to the retail customers at a list price of 108 per case. Data pertaining to the 5 customers is given. So there are different customers. So simply A, B, C, D, E. Of course, in the examination, headings and calculations will have to be done in more detailed manner, naturally. So let us look at the cases sold, which is nothing but number of units sold. So 4680, copy paste. In fact, we can have a total column also, just for understanding, but maybe we are not asked to do that. But okay, let us, as a uniformity, consider total column also when there are many things. 4680, 19,688. These are number of units. 136,800, big customer, 71,550. Then EE is purchasing 8775. Actually, the total of all this does not have any relevance because the selling prices are not same, but just for quantity purposes, if the management would like to see what is the total number of cases they are able to sell in a particular period, at least they can have a look at that. So this is number of units sold. Let us call it units sold. Then list selling price is 108, but customers are not giving 108. Each of them is giving a different selling prices. So the actual selling price only is what matters. List price, who cares? Actually, how much customers are paying per case? 108 rupees and 106.2, then 99, then 104.4, then 97.2. Don't do total of that. That is ridiculous. It is unit price, so it will not have any total. So 108, 106.2, 99, 104.4 and 97.2 are the selling prices actually achieved from the customers. Next, number of purchase orders, number of customer visits, number of deliveries, kilometers traveled per delivery, number of expedited deliveries. All these details are number. We want rupees, definitely. But before that, from the information already given, can we calculate sales in rupees? We can. That is the sales value. What is that? Number of cases multiplied with selling price. Simple. So these are the sales in rupees. You need to do that on paper using calculator. So the total of sales is 2 crores 44 lakhs 62,256. Fine. What is cost of sales? Basically, let us say purchase price of this each case. That is going to be same. No? We are selling different customers, but we are buying the bottled water cases at 90 rupees per case. So what is the purchase price? 90 rupees per case means whatever the number of units into 90 rupees. Just a trader actually, this Alpha Limited, buying and selling, that's all. So 4,21,290 multiplied with the number of cases sold. Like that, if 90 is applied across, because the purchase price is same, then the total of all the purchase prices is 2 crores 17 lakhs 34,370. That is definitely one of the expenses. We can calculate gross profit or something like that. That's okay. If time permits, you can do that. Otherwise, no need. But we know now what is the sales in rupees and cost of purchase in rupees. Now there are all other things, numbers given. But the activities, there are 5 different activities which are given, purchase orders, and these are the numbers. The activities which are identified here and the respective cost drivers are given here very clearly. So if you say order taking is an activity, each purchase order it will cost 750 rupees. Like that, how many purchase orders are there? 15, 25, 30, 25, 30, like that. So what all big deal we have to do is 750 per purchase order multiplied with how many purchase orders are there with each of them. So let us say order taking cost. Order taking cost. Each purchase order is 750. 750 is guaranteed. Only the number of purchase orders from each customer changes. So 750 into 15. 750 into 15 for one guy. Then we have other numbers like what? 25, 30, 25, 30. Okay. 25, 30, 25, 30. That's all. Total, whatever it is, 93,750. That is the total of order taking cost. This is just a multiplication. So this is, now you can understand. Basically, actual activity is order taking. Number of purchase orders are given, and the activity of order taking is driven by this number of purchase orders, and each purchase order costs 750 rupees. Multiplying both will get the total cost. Then number of customer visits is also given, but customer visit costs so much, 600 rupees per customer visit. So let us say customer visit costs 600 per customer visit. How many are there? 23623. 600 rupees. Okay. 600 into 2, 2, 3, 6, 2, 3. Is that 2, 3, 6, 2, 3? 2, 3, 6, 2, 3. That is the number of customer visits. Each visit costs 600 rupees. So multiply with that. Simply we get the total cost of customer visits. Then deliveries, 5.75 rupees per delivery kilometer traveled. For each kilometer you have to calculate. But here number of deliveries is given, kilometer traveled per delivery is given. So we have to calculate the total kilometers traveled for each customer. It is not about each delivery. So what is given here? 5.75 for each kilometer traveled is given. So how many number of kilometers would be traveled for towards each of these customers? That you can calculate separately. I'm just doing it here. 10 into 20, that is 200 kilometers. Then 30 into 6, 180 kilometers. Then 60 into 5, 300 kilometers. 40 deliveries, each delivery 10 means 400 kilometers. 20 into 30, 600 kilometers. That is the number of kilometers traveled and delivered. So delivery cost, let us say. Delivery cost how much? 5.75 per delivery kilometer traveled. So simply this multiplied with 5.75 gives us delivery cost. Then total we can take. That is the total of delivery costs. Be careful, don't just 5.75 into 26.5, don't do that. That is wrong, because this is kilometers traveled per delivery and there are number of deliveries also given. They have to be multiplied to get the total distance traveled, then multiply with 5.75 per kilometer traveled. So that is the delivery cost done. Next, product handling is one more thing. That is 3.75 per case sold. So product handling cost, let us call it 3.75 per case sold. We know already how many cases are sold, that is the number of units of sales. 3.75 into that will give us whatever that product handling cost is there. So that is this much, 9,05,599. Number of cases sold multiplied with 3.75. Then expedited deliveries happened only for customer E. Others did not have it. So let us say expedited delivery cost. All the others had 000 because there is no rush for them. Mostly normal deliveries happened. Maybe because of whatever reasons. Customer E wanted a very quick urgent delivery once, which costed us 2250 rupees as given for each delivery. Like that only once happened. So 2250 is the total cost of expedited delivery also. These are the costs as per the question given. Just we have to multiply them. So what is this now? Total of the costs can we take? Total of all the costs including purchase price is this. How much is that? 2 crores 27 lakhs 55,229. That is the total of the cost. So naturally how much will be the profit which we want? That is what we actually want. What is asked here? Compute the customer level operating income of each of the 5 retail customers now being examined, A, B, C, D and E, and comment on the results. Okay, comment we will see later. But first find out profit sales minus of cost, total cost. That is the profit. Okay. And total also we can take, nothing wrong in that. So total profit, if the management wants to look at, the bottom line is 17 lakhs, top line is 2 crores 44 lakhs. So how to get this analysis mode? Simply analysis generally indicates percentages. Profitability percentage, how much each customer we can get. Profit divided by sales into 100. That gives percentage of profit approximately for each customer. Don't total that. So A, B, C, D, E. The profit percentages are like this. So each of them, let us take some two decimals. 10.5, 10.69, 5.1, 9.9, 0.03%. That is the profitability. So what is that analysis that we will do? Customer B is giving most profitability, then customer A, then customer D, then C. E is the least one who is giving us the least possible profitability. That is the analysis from the numbers straight away. That's it. State what insights are gained by reporting both the list selling price and the actual selling price for each customer. What insights and all what we can get. because this customer E is the one who is getting the product at the cheapest price. 108 rupees is the list price. Look at this customer E, he is asking the product for 97.2. Means he is only taking this product at almost 10% discount. 90% only is paying. 10% discount is asking. So that 10% discount naturally is showing in the final results. Because of that, his profitability from that customer E is very less. So what insights we can get from here? Okay, sir. B is asking little bit lesser discount, whatever it is, number of, percentage of discount also we can calculate separately. That we can say whatever is the list price minus this actual price. If you take that, and that divided by list price will give us percentage of discount they are asking. So look at this guy, is asking 10% discount, and C is asking 8.3% discount. Makes sense because C is the biggest customer for us. Look at this, 1,36,800 cases he is buying. So C we cannot say is doing something wrong. Worst and useless person is E. Don't write all this. But definitely, if a customer analysis is done, the management will talk like this only at a top level. So they will say this E guy, we have to do something because he is not giving any profit. We will just waste of time, and suddenly he gives orders also to us. I want urgently I want also. So he is a troublesome guy actually. That is insights. For practical purposes, don't write all this as insights. Whatever is given in the ICA material, that you can take as insight. So this is the insight what we are looking at. So 9%. What is this discount per case he has given? We have taken percentages actually. So 9 rupees, 3.6, 1.8 and all that. So 10.8 and all that. So these are the people who are taking discount in this level. That is the insight. So above data clearly shows that the discount given to customer per case has a direct relationship with the sales volume, except that in the case of customer E. So though we are giving too much of 10% discount to this guy, this discount given is not resulting in more number of cases. Volume is not actually being delivered or purchased by E. So naturally the focus point, if at all there is one villain we have to find out here, he is definitely customer E, because he is less profitable, asking too much discount, and asking for expedited deliveries and all that from a quality point of view. All this just can be simply written, no need to worry about what to write and all. Just take some number, don't write anything just from the air. Some numbers you have to show. This is a profit percentage, this is a, let us say, net profit ratio, right? That is one thing on the basis of which we can take. This is the discount rate of discount asked by each of the customers. Instead of taking per case discount, better to take percentages. For analysis, always percentages are better. So on the basis of these numbers, something we can just write in the examination as comments. So should we call this ABC? Yes, we can call this. Should we call this customer profitability analysis? We can call this. No need to call anything also. Just a question, just an answer. That is better. Open mind is much better. Now let us do some more questions which again randomly are there in different chapters also. Some one of them, a couple of them are in the chapter of overheads, and one of that we have left in budgets chapter also, because maybe at that level we would not have understood. Now after all understanding of various things, we can solve these questions also comfortably. So let us solve those questions one by one. Now, read the question number 1. A Limited manufactures two products A and B. Manufacturing division consists of two production departments P1 and P2, two service departments S1 and S2. Okay, P1, P2, S1, S2. This is what manufacturing departments and service departments are consisted, and they are manufacturing two products A and B. So 4 departments, 2 products. Little bit naturally size wise bigger question. Budgeted overhead rates are used in the production departments to absorb the factory overheads to the products. That's what anybody does. Rate of department P1 is based on the direct machine hours. P1 is on the machine hour rate, let us say, and P2 is based on direct labor hours, means labor hour rate is used for the absorption of overheads. That is the different basis of absorption of overheads they are using for production departments P1 and P2. And in applying overheads, the predetermined rates are multiplied by actual hours. Of course, yes, that is how the absorption happens. You know that For allocating the service department costs to the production departments, the basis adopted is as follows. Cost of department S1 should be given to P1 and P2 equally, so there is no need of reciprocal and all. Direct distribution method you can say. S1 cost to be given to P1 and P2 equally. Then the cost of S2 should be given to P1 and P2 in the ratio of 2:1. And further data is given. Following budgeted data are available. Factory overheads budgeted for the period are given. That's what exactly we want. Budgeted overheads are how much? As given. P1, P2, 25 lakhs 50,000. And then P2, 21 lakhs 75,000. Then S1 6 lakhs, S2 4 lakh 50,000. Now these are the budgeted overheads, and already has given that S1 cost has to be given to P1 and P2 in the ratio of equally. So let us take it out. Minus 6 lakhs. Give it equally to P1, P2 means 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs. Done. That is one apportionment we have done, reapportionment actually. Then what about S2 costs? S2 costs minus 4,50,000. Let us take it out. That should be given to P1 and P2 in what ratio? 2:1. So 4,50,000, 2:1 means 3 lakhs, 1,50,000 will be the apportionment. So what is the total cost budgeted overheads for P1 and P2? 31,50,000 and 26 lakhs 25,000 respectively. That is what is there already from the information that is given. Now all that we need is number of machine hours for P1, number of labor hours for P2, so that we can find out machine hour rate and labor hour rate for P1 and P2. For that we need information about number of hours and all. There is information given. Budgeted output in units. Product A 50,000 units, product B 30,000 units. So there is a separate calculation required. So let us do that as a separate working notes. Let us say A and B, two products are there. A and B. Product A, how many? 50,000 units is to be manufactured output. B 30,000 to be manufactured. Okay. Budgeted raw material cost per unit is given. That we have nothing to do with, because that will definitely be useful as raw material cost. Budget versus actual, if there is a comparison required, then it will be useful. For overheads, it has no relevance. Budgeted time required for production per unit, yes, this has relevance. Department P1, product A requires 1.5 machine hours, product B requires 1 machine hour. So when you say P1, how many hours are required for product A in P1? 1.5 machine hours. So 1.5 machine hour into 50,000 units means 75,000 machine hours will be required in P1, and the same P1 product B requires 1 machine hour. But for product B, do we require? Yeah. For P1 we require, product A, product doesn't matter, 1 machine hour. So whatever this number of units into 1 is the same thing, 30,000. So basically how many machine hours are going to be required in department P1? 1,05,000. But labor hours, because P2 is labor hour rate basis, so 2 direct labor hours are required for product A. So production into 2, 2.5 for product B, so 2.5 into 30,000. That is going to be the total number of labor hours required for department P2. So P1 1,05,000 machine hours, P2 1,75,000 labor hours. So we have already the machine hours and labor hours. So simply what we can do, just divide them. Overhead total cost, this is all budgeted only, divided by budgeted number of hours. So 30 rupees, exactly 30 rupees, and 15 rupees is the labor hour rate, once again, machine hour rate and labor hour rate respectively. P1 machine hour rate, P2 labor hour rate respectively. These are the things on budgeted basis. Okay. Then further information is given. Average wage rates are given for department P2. Product A 72 rupees per hour, product B 75 rupees, 72 and 75 rupees per hour. Once again, it is wage rates. That has nothing to do with overheads directly. All materials are used in department P1 only. P2 has no materials requirement at all. All materials are inputted in department P1 only. Then actual data is given. This is all budgeted data. Actual data is what for the month of July? Units actually produced A 4000, B 3000. Okay. So once again, we have to look at the main point here. When the factory overheads are given, budgeted output 50,000, 30,000, etc. That was for the entire year, sir. This is only for 1 month. These are not comparable. When we compare actual data for 1 month, we have to take budgeted also for that month only, according to whatever the original raw material cost or wage rate, according to that. But actual production, what matters is A 4000 units are produced, B 3000 units are produced. Actual direct machine hours worked in department P1 are given, direct labor hours worked in department P2 are given, which can be used for absorbing the overheads on the predetermined rates. Cost actually incurred, direct material cost and wages cost is given for product A and B, and overheads cost is also given for P1, P2, S1, S2 respectively for actual 1 month. Now what is required? Compute the predetermined overhead rate for each production department. That's what we did already. 30 rupees machine hour rate, 15 rupees labor hour rate for each production department P1 and P2. That is the predetermined overhead rate. Then the question does not stop. Till then it is a overheads question. Now it is not stopping there. Again it is asking performance report for July that will reflect the budgeted cost and actual cost. So which chapter we should put this? Should we call this budgets and budgetary control? Yes, it could be. Performance management, big name we can give, something like final. Yes, it could be. So names do not matter. Performance report means comparison basically of budgeted costs and actual cost for the month of July he is asking. So let us do that. Performance report, let us say budgeted versus actual. Okay, that can be done separately. Just performance report is asked, so computations can be done separately. We can take cost wise performance report, that is enough. Computations can be shown detailed even in the separate working notes or even within the things. Here I can do it within one calculation, but in exam I have to show separately. So let us, what will be there? Budget versus actual. Simply speaking, always cost will be the same. Material cost, labor cost, overheads cost. What else will be there? So what is the budgeted material cost? Budgeted material cost, how should we calculate? Budgeted material cost, we should not take 50,000 into 120, 30,000 into 150. No sir, we cannot, because that is for annual budget. What we are comparing is for the actual production that happened in the month of July. That is where we have to even understand and apply the standard costing principles. When you compare standard cost, what is standard cost? It is not budgeted cost for materials and labor. It is standard cost for actual output. So budgeted output does not matter at all when we talk about material cost and labor cost. But actual output we know A and B, 4,000, 3,000. So for each of these things, I am doing separately calculations for material cost. A, B, A how many units? 4,000 units. Multiplied with actual cost, budgeted cost for raw material, which should be how much there? For product A, 120 rupees per unit as given here. 120 rupees. So 4,000 into 120, that should be 4,80,000. What about B? 150 rupees, but how many units of B are manufactured? 3,000 into 150. So this is the standard cost of actual output that we have to understand. And that's what we are calling it as budget, not the master budget. Standard cost for actual output is what is supposed to be incurred, that is budget here. That is what is performance report, what it is asking. And actual raw material cost is given already. You can just total that. Raw material cost 4,89,000 plus 4,56,000. This is the actual cost. If at all you want variance and all, that also can be calculated. So though it is not asked. So cost wise, budget minus actual 15,000 means it is an adverse variance for sure. Don't worry about standard costing variances. Just performance report. Good or bad, at least that conceptually we can understand. Yes, actual material cost is more than it is supposed to be, so it is negative thing. That is the reality. That is about material cost. Same way for labor cost also we can do. Labor, what was mentioned there in the question. For department P2, only labor cost is incurred, right? Only for that. Because average wage rates are given only for department P2. In P1, it's all machines which are working. Maybe no people are there. In P2 only people are there. Wage rates are given in P2 only. So 72 rupees per hour and 75 rupees per hour. That is the rate actually. But how many hours it will take, labor hours in P2? A takes 8,200 hours for product A. This is actual. For product A, 2 direct labor hours are required. For product B, 2.5 direct labor hours are required. So here directly we cannot calculate here for labor. First thing first, we have to calculate number of hours required. Then we can calculate direct labor cost also. Number of hours for actual production, how many number of hours would be required? Once again, logically speaking, it is the standard hours required for actual output. Actual output, how much? 4,000, 3,000. And P2 requires how many hours? For product A, 2, product B, 2.5. So 4,000 into 2 and 3,000 into 2.5. That's the number of hours required. But what is the rate? Wage rates are different. For product A, 72 rupees per hour and 8,000 hours means total cost will be 576. For product B, 75 rupees per hour. So number of hours into multiplying this. So what is this? Total of these two is what is budgeted labor cost for actual output. Once again. Then what is actual labor cost? That is given. Just add that. 591,900. Is it? 591,900 plus 552,000. That's all. Variance if you take, again still adverse. So actual labor cost was little more than what it is supposed to be. That is another thing about labor. Now naturally the overheads will be an important aspect also. For the actual production, how many hours would have been required and what is the absorption, all these things we have to find out. So for overheads, let us continue this way. Here we have two things, that is because P1 is also there, P2 is also there. So machine hours also we should calculate, labor hours also we should calculate, cost for P1 also we should calculate and P2 also we should calculate. Because the recovery is not same. P1 recovers on machine hour basis, P2 recovers on labor hours basis. But how many hours would be required for actual production? Or number of hours actually taken can be there. So we are not talking about budgeted standard here. Absorbed versus actual we are taking. Once again I am repeating, though it was asked budget versus actual, budget again here would become SH, standard hours required for actual output. No, we are not taking that. We are taking absorbed versus actual. That is different. For others, material and labor, there is nothing called absorption, so budget versus actual we have taken. For overheads, what is more relevant is absorbed versus actual. Absorption happens on what basis? Predetermined rate basis. On the basis of the number of hours actually worked, which are given there. So actual direct machine hours worked in department P1 are, of course, this machine hours itself means it is for P1. Labor hours itself is per P2. That is normal. Given in the question, all that you need to do is copy paste. On product A, 6,100 hours. On product B, 4,150 hours. Same way, labor hours worked in department P2, actual hours. Product A, 8,200 hours. Product B, 7,400 hours. Now, absorption happens on the basis of predetermined rates. 6,100 into, we have the rates already determined for P1, that was 30. Right? Same way. Let us take 30 easy. Same way for B also in P1, it will be 4,150 into 30. So what is the total here? That is 3,07,500 in P1. Then P2 will be what? P2 labor hours we have to take. Labor hours 8,200 labor hours are worked in P2 for product A, and what is the recovery rate for P2? 15 rupees. Same for product B also. So what is the total of overheads here? 3,07,500 plus 2,34,000. By the way, it is recovered overheads. You cannot call it really the budgeted overheads, but still comparison wise overheads recovered and actual overheads is always what is comparable. So total of these two is the budget or absorbed overheads. 5,41,500. Actual overheads are already given, total all of them. Just straight away you can do that. You don't need to do again departmental wise and all, not required. 2,31,000, 2,04,000, 60,000, whatever happened in whichever department happened, actual is actual. 543,000 is actual. So this is also adverse. So what is the total cost budget? This much. Total cost actual this much. And there is a total of adverse variance of 21,900. That is the performance report what has been asked in the question. How detailed you prepare, that depends upon the time availability and what you can actually calculate. But definitely this working notes for how much is the budgeted material cost for actual output, budgeted labor cost for actual output, and how much overheads are to be absorbed on the basis of actual number of hours multiplied with predetermined rates. These all calculations have to be shown separately. Then they will go to the final performance report. That is another, I would call it generic question. Such kind of questions, 10 marks questions can be very well expected, possible to be asked. Now, go to another question, question number 2 in this particular sequence. You are given the following information of the 3 machines of a manufacturing department X Limited. 3 machines are there, A, B, C. Preliminary estimates of expenses are given for annum, and total costs as well as already apportioned costs for some of them are given. If they are already apportioned, we don't have to worry, just take whatever it is given. If they are not apportioned, like for example insurance, indirect labor, etc., we need to apportion on some suitable basis. Naturally, for that further data will be given. Read it. The foreman and attendant control all the 3 machines and spend equal time on them. They spend equal time on them means their salaries have to be apportioned equally. Other information is given. Estimated direct labor hours, ratio of kilowatt rating, that should be per power or electricity like that. Kilowatt rating, that is. Floor space is given, maybe something like rent or something like that. Floor space we can use. These are the statistical data available for the purpose of apportionment, which we need to do anyway. And look at the further information. There are 12 holidays besides Sundays in the year, of which 2 are on Saturdays. Manufacturing department works 8 hours in a day, but Saturdays are half days. All machines work at 90% capacity throughout the year, and 2% is the reasonable time for breakdown. So this will be useful for finding out number of hours that are going to be worked actually on these machines. That we have to do a separate calculation. What is required is calculate predetermined machine hour rates for the above machines after taking into consideration the following factors. See, normally if this is given, we just distribute and get the machine hour rate. It's not even a big question. But if there are some changes that happened to the preliminary estimates, then they have to be also incorporated. What are the changes? Increase of 15% happened in the prices of spare parts, and an increase of 25% happened in the consumption of spare parts for machine B and C only. So that means these both points are looking at spare parts cost overall. So that has to be definitely changed. We cannot take whatever is given in the question directly. Also there is an increase of 20% in the wage rates. So these are the things to be incorporated when we do the calculations actually. But each of the things automatically we have to just apportion. So simply in any case, let us take A, B, C total. Costs which what are given, already given, so no, nothing to worry. Depreciation, is it going to be something different? No. 7,500, 7,500, 5,000. Total is given, but just let us check it, is 20,000. Then spare parts is something which is not going to be same. We have to calculate that separately. Simply we can directly do it, because 4,000 is originally predicted of A, 4,000. A will have only increase in the selling price, not consumption increase. So what we can say, simply we can say into 115 by 100, or actually into 1.15 is easiest. So 4,000 into 1.15 will be the new spare cost for A. 1.15 means 15% increase only happened. Now for B and C, increase in prices also will happen, increase in consumption also will happen. So what we can do here, according to the costs given in the question, A to 4,600, B take original 4,000 into 1.15 into 1.25, 2 increases happened. So there is no big deal about it. Separately we don't have to do. One shot calculation we can do. 4000 into 1.15 into 1.25. Both happen simultaneously. So that is for B. What about C? C, 2000 into same 1.15 and 1.25. So what is the total here? 13,225. That is the spare parts cost we already calculated. Then power. Power total he has given, that is how much? 40,000 total. That should be distributed in what ratio? Power, better to take it on kilowatt rating, 3:2:3, right? So 40,000 divided by 8 into 3, right? So then 2, then 3. Divided by 8 into 2, correct. So finally what is the distribution of this 40,000? 15,000, 10,000 and 15,000. That is simply 3:2:3. We can do that with observation also. So 40,000 is distributed like that, 15, 10, 10, 15. That is the power cost. Then one by one we can go. Consumable stores. Consumable stores, okay, let us take it. Consumable stores are given directly. What is there for us to do? Nothing. 3,000, 2,500 and 2,500. Total should be 8,000 as given already. Directly we can take. Then we have insurance of the machinery. Insurance total is how much? 8,000. What is the better basis here? Are we giving the investment value or the cost of the machines? No, it is not given. But depreciation already is given. So naturally depreciation also would have been distributed in the same ratio, right? So better to distribute in this ratio of depreciation. So simply we can take 8,000 divided by this multiplied with this. So 8,000 divided by 20 into 7.5. So 3:3:2, no, not 3:3:2. Yeah, 3:3:2, correct. 8,000 total, right? Total is 8,000 matching. So 3:3:2 is the ratio for depreciation. Same ratio is used for this insurance also. That can be distributed. Fine. Indirect labor 20,000 he says. Indirect labor. But beware. When you say indirect labor, one point we have to be keeping in mind. There is a 20% increase in the wage rates. So should we take 20,000 as original or 20% increase we have to do? We have to do 20% increase. 20,000, 20% increase means 24,000 is indirect labor. That is total, first of all, which is different than what is given in the question. But then what is the basis? Maybe we can use this estimated direct labor hours we can use. Direct labor can be the basis for indirect labor. So direct labor hours can be the basis for indirect labor also. So one way what we can say once again here 10:15:15. In other words 2:3:3. 2:3:3 we can distribute that. So that's so 6,000, 9,000, 9,000 is the distribution for 24,000. So that is the distribution or apportionment of indirect labor cost. Each of them just one by one we have to do, nothing else. Then building maintenance expenses. Building maintenance expenses, okay. Building maintenance expenses total how much? 20,000. What could be the better basis? Maintenance expenses. We can use floor space, no problem. So 2:2:1. 2:2:1. So 8,000, 8,000, 4,000. So that is 20,000. Building maintenance expenses distributed in the ratio of floor space 2:2:1. 8,000, 8,000, 4,000. Then next cost, annual interest. See, basically interest should not be used as a cost factor at all, because when we say machine hours and all, that is related to the operations. The interest has nothing to do with the core operations. It is basically a finance charge, which is only a pure accounting item, not a costing item. So better to ignore it. Don't include that. If you imagine the organization does not have loan, will the machine have a different working or what? If the machine is purchased using own funds or loan funds, does it matter or does it have any impact on the machine? No. So for costing purposes, mostly interest we have to ignore. That should not be something that should be taken as one of the costs. Particularly when we look at production level things like machine hour rate and all. Overall profit, if you want to calculate, there it's okay. But now, production level has nothing to do with interest. So that is completely not to be considered at all when we calculate machine hour rate. That has nothing to do with the working of the machine. All others are required for the working of the machine. That is not something required. That is only depending upon whether the organization has taken loan or not. So that has nothing to do with operations. So ignore it. Next, monthly charge for rent and rates. Monthly, yeah? So rent and rates, monthly charge is said. But we are all talking about per annum. No? This is all for the entire year. Per annum it is given. So monthly charges 10,000 means per annum will be how much? Naturally 10,000 into 12. 1,20,000 will be the rent and rates. Once again, what should be the better basis for it? Like building maintenance expenses, floor space can be taken as a better basis. So 2:2:1 once again. So divided by 5 into 2. So 48,000, 24,000 is the rental expenses per annum, which is distributed in the ratio of 2:1. Then salary of foreman, salary of attendant, and he said they are working equally. So salary of foreman, let us say foreman salary, attender salary. Foreman salary, attender salary per month given 20,000 and 5,000. So 20,000 into 12, 5,000 into 12. First of all of them should be related to the same period. So 20,000 into 12, 5,000 into 12. But here we can have a multiple possibilities, because he said there is an increase in wage rates. Should the salaries of foreman and attendant also increase or not? Is a dilemma. We can take it also, we can ignore it also, because he said the word wages. We don't have to really distinguish them, because the word used is general increase. General increase means what? Everybody in the factory would have got increase. So either way it can be done, ignoring that increase, or we can even consider that increase. Let us consider that increase. So 1.2 if you multiply, that means an upward increase of 20% automatically. So multiply with 1.2. Again here also multiply with 1.2, that means upward increase of 20%. So that is the foreman salary, attendant salary, but here simply equally that is supposed to be distributed. So same amount will be there in all the three cases. Same way here also 72,000 equally to be distributed. So 24,000, 24,000, 24,000. That's all. These are the various costs related to these machines which are given in the question. Everything we have distributed on some appropriate basis. Some things are already given in the question itself. What is the total of all these costs for the machine? Total we don't need it, because we need machine hour rate, not total. Total has no relevance here. If in the exam question the total is given of all costs, just for cross-checking purposes, maybe you can do that. Just for cross-checking purposes. That cannot be done also, because there are changes in the parameters here. So no need of total, just take the total cost of each of the machines. But now what we need is machine hour, number of machine hours that work. Machine hours actually these machines work. That is a separate working note. For that data is given. What he said, there are 12 holidays besides Sundays in the year. Okay, first of all there will be 52 Sundays generally, plus 12 holidays, means 64 holidays are gone. That means no work on that, right? So 64 days in the year, no work will be there. Then on these 12 holidays, 2 are on Saturdays. Anyway, Saturdays also, so holidays are holidays. The manufacturing department works 8 hours in a day, but on Saturdays only half hours it works. So if you take only Saturdays, normally it should be 52 Saturdays, but now there will be 50 Saturdays only. Why? Because 2 days are holidays. So 50 Saturdays working, how many hours? This is 64 working 0 hours, means no work at all, 0 naturally. 50 Saturdays working 4 hours, And remaining number of days, what is remaining? 365 minus this minus this. Remaining number of 251 days working 8 hours. That means what is the total number of hours that this factory will work is 2208. But that is not final. Why? Because all machines are working only at 90% capacity and 2% is reasonable for breakdown. So let us take 90% of the capacity only into 90%. Then even from that 2% breakdown time is there, that should be reduced. So actual working is only how much? That is 1947 hours. 1947 hours for each machine. In the year, by the way, are we taking all of them yearly? Yes, we have taken all the costs yearly only. So in the entire year, each of the machines works how many hours, sir? 1947 hours. Then what is the machine hour rate? Naturally, total cost divided by number of hours. This is the machine hour rate. 110, 110, 95, or you can have decimals accordingly. So 110.48, 109.78 and 94.7 are the machine hour rates, and that's what is asked in the question. What is asked? Simply calculate predetermined machine hour rates after taking some of the changes which we included, but that changes I have been included there in the top. And in the calculation of machine hours separately, we have to take out of 365 days in general, 50 are Saturdays, 64 are completely 0 hour working days, 251 days are 8 hours. Take 90% efficiency and also give 2% downtime. So effective number of hours only we have to take in the denominator for computation of machine hour rate, which we calculated here. This can be a 10 marks type of question which was given in the examination. Proper calculations, particularly for spare parts, separate working note you can take, and for attendant salary and foreman salary you can write an assumption. Other things are straightforward, but you have to write what is the basis. Maybe for in the examination you can have for each of them what is the basis, and just write the ratio what we have done. Okay, for example here 2:1, right there, like that. For each of them you can write what it is. For spare parts, nothing basis, actual what given data according to the actual data, like that. For each of them in the exam you can write the ratio also, then show the calculations. 10 marks question this is, which was asked in past examinations, possible to be asked again. Practice this well. So these are the generic type of questions what I was talking about. Of course this is also machine hour rate and related to overheads only, but something different from normal routine type of questions. Now let's move on to question number 3, which is actually there in the chapter of budgets and budgetary control, which we did not do then for the reasons, because then probably it would not have been that easier. Now we are anyway solving the questions which are big and comprehensive at a factory level understanding. Once we have these type of questions can be approached relatively easily. So let us solve this. Read it carefully. A company is engaged in the manufacture of specialized sub-assemblies required for certain electronic equipment. The company envisages that in the forthcoming month, December, the sales will take pattern in the ratio of 3:4:2 respectively of the sub-assemblies ACB, MCB and DP. We don't need all that. Maybe some company manufacturing all these distribution points, MCB boxes and all. Whatever it is, that we don't worry much about the products and all. We are not engineers. XYZ, ABC doesn't matter to us. Just name it is. But what is the output, what they are doing, that we should know. Sub-assemblies here means that's what they are manufacturing, that is their product. And they have 3 names, ACB, MCB, DP. The ratio of sales is going to take pattern of 3:4:2. That is also given. And the following is a schedule of components required for the manufacture. So each of the manufacturing of ACB, MCB, DP requires 4 different components. There is one baseboard, and on that IC08 is one maybe circuit, or maybe IC12, IC26, like that. Different components are required. One baseboard and multiple types of components are required. This is number of components, nothing to do with rupees. Selling price is rupees for each of these products, that is also given. But purchase price of these components is also given. When you say purchase price, that will be per component. 60 rupees per baseboard, 20 rupees per component of one IC08, like that. That is also given. So that is a component requirement schedule, we can call it, which is given. Then the direct, that is the material related information. Now labor related information, the direct labor time and variable overheads required for each of the sub-assemblies are given. Even labor also, there are two types of labor, grade A labor and grade B labor. And labor hours given here, once again not the money, only number of hours is given directly. Grade A requires ACB output, that is our output requires 8 hours of grade A labor, 16 hours of grade B labor. Like that, MCB requires different and DP requires others. And then direct wage rate per hour. Direct wage rate per hour, that is given for 5 rupees and 4 rupees, grade A and grade B. So that is the information about labor. And variable overheads are directly given in rupees. That can be taken also. Then the laborers work 8 hours a day for 25 days of a month. Okay. Each laborer works 8 hours a day for 25 days of a month. That means each laborer works 200 hours in a month. That is another information. If it is useful, we'll take it. Opening stocks of sub-assemblies and components are given. See, sub-assemblies means output, finished goods. Components is input, raw materials. Both are different. But opening stocks are given. That is 800, 1200, 2800, and components also 1600, 1200. Like this, opening stocks are given. Fixed overheads amount to 750, 200 for the month, and all these things are for the month only. We are talking about for this month. Fixed overheads are 757, 200, and a monthly profit target of 12 lakhs rupees has been set. This is where the main point comes. Fixed cost is given, desired profit is given. Then how much sales are supposed to happen related to each of these 3 sub-assemblies is not given, but the ratio is given, that is 3:4:2. Sales will take place in that pattern. So without knowing marginal costing, without knowing other things, this question is difficult to solve. First of all, we should know the desired profit plus fixed overheads divided by contribution per unit will give us number of units required. But what is the problem here? Contribution per unit is not just one product, there are multiple products. Just like when there are multiple products, we have to calculate break-even point at a comprehensive contribution per unit level. Then we have to again distribute that into the number of types of units. In this case, in the ratio of 3:4:2. So it is not a single product situation, it is a product mix situation for computation of sales that are required to achieve a desired profit. Just like break-even point calculation for a single product, just straight away fixed cost by contribution per unit. For multiple products, it is not the same. Fixed cost divided by comprehensive contribution per unit or weighted average contribution per unit we will take. Then that has to be used for distributing it to 3 different or 2 different, what are the mix of the products that might be. Same logic applies here. We need to find out sales budget in quantity and value. That is the first question. That can happen only by applying such marginal costing formulae and principles. Now further data is also given, important one. The company is eager to reduction of closing inventories for this month of sub-assemblies also and components also by 10% of quantity as compared to the opening stock. So that is another very important information. In other words, indirectly has given closing stock, because closing stock is nothing but 10% lesser than opening stock. So opening stock, closing stock, both of them are given in quantities indirectly. Opening stock directly given, and closing stock we can calculate by reducing 10% from opening stocks. So that is a proper budgeting type of question, very good possible question. First of all, what are all required here? Sales budget in quantity and value, then production budget in quantity, then component usage budget, then component purchase budget, and manpower budget also. Everything is covered in this question. The very, very comprehensive, factory level, in fact, practical type of question. This is quite possible for any situation. Maybe really any small scale electronic equipment manufacturer will have the same situation. So this is more practical in nature. Real application of budgets, we can say, and other all concepts that we already learned in costing, most of them we have to apply here. Where to start? We can start with any working notes, or we can start with what is requirement, and according to requirement we can do working notes within that requirement. Either way it can be done, but don't waste time in thinking about where to start. Start doing. Ultimately we'll definitely have to answer each of them. So first thing first, we need sales budget in quantity. Let us take that. Sales budget in quantity, how will you take it? We have to take it by taking the weighted average contribution per unit. For that we need first of all contribution per unit, that is not given. So certainly we need contribution per unit. What are the outputs that we have? ACB, MCB and DP. Okay. These are the three things that we manufacture: ACB, MCB, DP. Selling price is given. Selling price how much? 520, 500, 350. Okay, that is selling price per unit. Then we need variable costs. In that variable costs, we need one by one material, naturally labor, then variable overheads. All of them we need to have as part of variable costs. Again, there's a big problem because material for each of them requires different components. So we have to just calculate separately. We cannot calculate for each of them showing separate working notes. Takes a lot of time. So what we can do for ACB, what are the component requirements? One baseboard, 8 IC8, 4 IC12, 2 IC26. So simply in the same way, we can take this one baseboard into 60 rupees, right? Plus 8 IC8, whatever that circuit it might be, integrated circuit. So 8 such components into 20 rupees plus 4 into 12 plus 2 into 8. So this is the material cost for ACB. 1 into 60, 8 into 20, 4 into 12, 2 into 8. Right? Like that for MCB also we can calculate. So 1, 2, 10, 6. Just change this. 1, 2, 10, 6. Number of units required of different components is different. So 1, 2, 10, 6 multiplied with respective costs, that gets material cost or component cost for MCB. What about DP? DP is 1248. 1248. 1248. That is the material cost for DP. Done. That is per unit of output. This is the component cost input, we can say. Then MCB, ACB, DP, all the three are done. So then labor cost. Labor cost also we need once again two types of labor are there, grade A and grade B. So per unit only we are calculating. So for each output, ACB requires 8 hours of grade A, 16 hours of grade B. So what should we calculate here? 8 into 5, because each hour of grade A costs 5. 8 into 5 plus 16 into 4. That is for ACB. 8 into 5, 16 into 4. Then what it changes? 6 and 12. So 6 into 5, 12 into 4. That is for MCB. Then for DP how it changes? 4 hours and 8 hours. So 4 into 5, 8 into 4. 5 and 4 are rate per hour. That is the labor cost. We have it. Variable overheads already given directly. 36 rupees, 24 rupees, 24 rupees. Nothing for us to calculate. Directly given in the question. 36, 24, 24 variable overheads. That's all. These are the total variable cost per unit. So what can be the total variable cost per unit here? 424, 370 and 288. That means contribution per unit will be how much now? Selling price minus variable cost per unit 96, 130 and 62. Yes, no decimal. So 96, 130 and 62 is the contribution per unit. Right? Now the point comes how to find out the number of units required to be sold in the ratio of 3:4:2. We have to take the same ratio here, 3, 4, 2. Okay. Then multiply these two, taking a weighted average basically. And what is the total of all of this? 932. Divided by total of proportion 9. That means 104 is the contribution, we can say, or weighted average contribution per unit. 104 is the weighted average contribution per unit. We have fixed cost given, so that is 757,200 plus desired profit, that is 12 lakhs. So total fixed cost plus desired profit divided by weighted average contribution per unit 104. So how many units have to be produced as a whole in the factory? 18,900. But that is not what we want. That has to be distributed in the ratio of 3:4:2 once again. So how many of this ACB, MCB and DP have to be manufactured? Now we have the quantity of sales. Quantity of sales is how much? 18,500, sorry, 900 into 3 by 9. Then 18,900 into 4 by 9. Then 18,900 into 2 by 9. So that is the way this 18,900 has to be distributed. Of course, the total has to be 18,900 in the ratio of 3:4:2. We calculate for the entire factory on an average how many units have to be manufactured on 18,900. For ACB, MCB, DP, sales in quantity, sales quantity is this much. That is the first question. Sales budget in quantity. Okay, once you have quantity, sales value we can easily calculate. How? By taking the quantity of sales multiply with selling price. We already know that. We have that. So this is the sales budget. If you want total, you can have that also. But not required. Already the problem is too big. Don't make it big. So that is the total sales we can say in value. Let us take only separately. Say totals and all. Not always required. There is no apportionment and all here. So totals is not compulsory. Save time there. So sales value is there. For all the three products ACB, MCB, DP. Done. That is the sales budget. Answer for first question. Then production budget in quantity. Production budget is what? Nothing but sales plus closing stock minus opening stock, isn't it? Closing stock, opening stock. If we have sales plus closing stock minus opening stock is what is production. No? So how much is opening stock for all these three products? That is given. That is given. How much is opening stock for sub-assemblies ACB, MCB, DP? 800, 1200, 2800. That is opening stock. 800, 1200, 2800. But closing stock, what is said? It is less than the opening stock by 10%. So we can say opening stock into 90% is the closing stock. That's all. Now we have production. So how much will be the production budget here in quantity naturally? Sales quantity plus closing stock minus opening stock. So this is the production in number of units. This is production quantity budget. 6220, 8280, 3930, 20 is the number of units of sub-assemblies ACB, MCB, DP respectively we should calculate. That is the second question. Production budget in quantity. We got it. Then component usage budget in quantity is asking. Component usage budget. Okay, for each of this ACB, MCB, DP, different components are there. So now we have to expand this. So we have to make this component wise. What are the components here? Let us take them. Baseboard. Components is baseboard. Then IC08, IC12, IC26. Just names those are. They don't represent anything. Okay. Now, for manufacturing 1 unit of ACB, for 1 unit of ACB, how many baseboards are required? 1 baseboard is required. So to manufacture 6220 of ACB, how many baseboards will be required? Simply 1 only. So into 1. But that is same for all others also. So directly we can say one baseboard is required for all of them. Then IC08, how many will be required for each unit of ACB? 8. So 8 2 2 IC08. So this into 8, this into 2, and then production into 2. 8 2 2 is the number of units of IC components of IC08 required for each unit of output. We know the output production quantity already. Multiply with 8 and 2 and 2. Okay, so that is the IC08 requirement. Then IC12 requirement is given there, 4 10 4. Once again same quantity into 4 10 4. That's it. That is IC12 requirement. IC26 component requirement, 2 6 8. Same 2 6 8. So what is the component requirement budget now? We can take this way. Total of baseboards, how many required? 18,420 baseboards required. Like that, IC08, IC12 and IC26 total component requirement budget, what he has asked. Component consumption budget or requirement budget or usage budget is given. That is the component requirement budget as asked in the question. These are the components that are required as a whole in the factory. That is the component budget. Next, component purchase budget also is asking in quantity as well as value. Next level. So for the same things, we need component requirement. Requirement is nothing but consumption. So let us take as it is, those are. That is consumption. So what is purchase budget? Purchase is nothing but, once again, consumption plus closing stock of components minus opening stock of components. But each of the components opening stocks are given. Opening stocks are given, not closing stocks. So take the opening stocks, 1600, 1200, 6000 and 4000. These are opening stock. But closing stocks will be what he said, 10% lesser. So multiply with 90% of the opening stocks, closing stocks will come. But what will be the component purchase requirement? Consumption plus closing stock minus opening stock. That is the component purchase budget we have. In quantities, number of components that is. That is a component purchase budget in quantity. In value we want also. Just multiply with the price. What is the price of each of these components that is given? 60, 20, 12, 8. 60, 20, 12, 8. That is the price. So naturally, what will be the component purchase budget in rupees? This will be the component purchase budget in rupees. Multiplying all of that. Total purchase cost of these materials is going to be 47,94,160. That is component purchase budget in total for all the components put together. That is 47,94,000. This, whatever it is. The main point is the requirement of the question has to be fulfilled. So we calculated already the sales budget in quantity and value. That is this. Then we calculated already production budget in quantity by adding closing stock of output and deducting opening stock of output. Then we calculated component usage budget in quantity. This is quantity. That is the third one. And then we have component purchase budget in quantity and value. This is quantity and this is value. All of them are calculated. In examination you do it horizontally, vertically, it doesn't matter. Final answer should be correct. So that is the four things we have. And manpower budget also is asking, showing the number of workers and the amount of wages payable, the last one. Okay. How many units are supposed to be produced first of all? That we know. 6220, 8280, 3920. Let us take that first. For all the three. Production that is supposed to happen is this. Right? So this is the number of units to be produced. Now go back to the labor requirements and all. Labor requirements are what? Grade A and grade B. Two are there. Grade A labor for ACB 8 hours will be required. So 6220 units, how much will be required? Multiply with 8. Then ACB requires 16 hours of grade B. Multiply with 16. That is about grade A, grade B. Then MCB requires 6 and 12. 6, 12. That's it. Then DP requires 4 and 8 hours of grade A. 4 and 8. So how much of grade A labor is required total if you see? 1,15,120 hours of grade A labor and 230-240 hours of grade B is required. But each laborer works how many number of hours in this month? 8 hours a day, 25 days in a month means 200 hours they will work. So how many number of grade A laborers are required? Divided by 200. Divided by 200 if you take. We need 576 workers because each worker working 200 hours only. Total number of hours required is 115, 120 of grade A workers, grade A labor hours. So 576 grade A workers, 1151 grade B workers will be required. That is manpower budget in number of workers. Then the amount of wages payable is also asked. Amount of wages payable can be directly taken on the basis of number of hours given already, what we know. This is the number of hours 115, 120. What is the cost of grade A labor? Grade A direct wages per hour is 5 rupees. So into 5 into 4. That's it. So total wages budget, if at all let us say, is going to be 14,96,560. That is the manpower budget in rupees. That is also what is asked. So various things are asked from the same question. Very good question. We need to understand the difference between input and output. Baseboard, IC08, 1226, those are all inputs, components. And ACB, MCB, DP are outputs. We need to first find out sales quantity by taking the weighted average contribution per unit in the denominator and fixed cost plus desired profit in the numerator. Then once we have sales budget, from that we can find out production number of units, from that we can find out component consumption budget, from that we can find out component purchase budget in quantity also and value also. All of them we have done. And finally manpower budget is also asked, taking the number of hours requirement for two types of labor, grade A and grade B. That's it. So that is a very good question. Practice that also. With that we can conclude current session, which has covered some of the general questions type of situations. And in the next session we'll continue with the activity based costing, properly taking and understanding the difference between ABC and absorption cost. Absorption costing already we have been doing, which is in the chapter of overheads. That we have to just do it once again, and we have to also apply some other basis of apportionment of cost as mentioned in the question under activity based costing. That topic we will discuss in the next session. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.